Thank you, Presiding Officer. Next week, the European Parliament is expected to vote on a moratorium on deepwater oil drilling following the appalling events in the Gulf of Mexico. But the UK government seems set, perhaps as early as today, to make a decision to back deepwater drilling off Shetland. Does the First Minister agree that this environmentally and economically reckless action would commit us to another generation of oil addiction? Will he call on the European Parliament to back the moratorium?
First Minister.
I wouldn't do that. I think there are significant differences between the regime in terms of safety that applies in the waters around Scotland and in the Gulf of Mexico. I think there are important lessons to learn from the Gulf of Mexico, and I think they should be scrutinised and identified. But to call for a moratorium without a basis of saying why he believes that, given all of the experience we've had in the waters around Scotland, that it's dangerous, I don't think is justified at the present moment. I think we should learn the lessons from the Gulf of Mexico, but we should acknowledge the excellence of the record of drilling around the coast of Scotland and go forward on that basis.
So am I surprised that the First Minister won't back a moratorium? Not at all. Alex Salmond's an oil man, always was, always will be. But the SNP have spent the last few years trying to persuade us that they're serious on climate change. Their own legislation and the targets they've set are designed to try and prevent global warming reaching more than 2 degrees C. That's the danger threshold that the world's scientists generally agree on. There are already more than enough fossil fuel reserves on the planet to make that target impossible. If we burn what we've already found, we'll have very little chance at all of getting through this century with our civilization intact. What's the justification then for more exploration, trying to find ever more forms of fossil fuel? The challenge must be to find out which bits of the reserves we've already found are to stay in the ground, and by and large that means fuel that we can't apply carbon capture and storage to. CCS technology may one day allow some limited use of coal, but there's no viable CCS technology for transport, and so it's the oil, above all else, which must stay in the ground. There is no justification for exploring more fields, more untapped reserves to add to the world's problems environmentally, both in terms of climate change and local pollution, but also the economy. Alex Salmond says this week that he wants Scotland to be 100% renewable. How can you call a country 100% renewable if it's dashing for oil and expanding open cast coal mining? It just doesn't add up.